So how's this for obscure? Heart of Darkness on the Sony PlayStation. When I played this game for the first time, I thought the graphics looked pretty good. The gameplay resembled Out of This World for the Super Nintendo. Upon further research, I discovered that both games were actually made by the exact same person, whose name I'm about to butcher. Eric Chailly. I tried. Heart of Darkness is a cinematic platforming game. Every time you die, your death is shown in a cinematic perspective. Whether it's falling off a great distance or being eaten alive by strange creatures, dying never looks so cool. This isn't like other games, like Mega Man 2, where if you die, you don't get a cool cutscene. Mega Man just falls down and the screen stays the same. No, this is Heart of Darkness, baby, where you die in style. Development for this game began as early as 1992, with the PC being the desired platform. Unfortunately, the game wasn't fully completed until mid-1998. That's a gap of over 6 years. You might ask yourself what took so darn long? Well, a series of transitions, lack of employees, funding, delayed the completion of the game far longer than the developer expected. Throughout this time, the 3DO, Amiga CD32, Atari Jaguar, Sega Saturn were all considered potential console ports, but they were all in the twilight of their tenures by the time this game finally came out. Now that that's out of the way, let's play this game in full. So you take the role of Andy, a boy genius and apparently also a slacker.
Hey, Whiskey!
Wait, what? Did I hear correctly? The dog's name is Whiskey? Okay. I'm going to assume that Andy did not name his dog and was probably named by Andy's father, who is most likely an alcoholic. So Andy and Whiskey head out to the park where they're expecting to see the coming eclipse. By some weird fluke of fate, Whiskey is sucked into the eclipse, and Andy, acting quickly, hurries home and readies his equipment to enter the eclipse and seemingly save his dog. After Andy's ship crash lands on some mountains, the game begins. Andy is equipped with a gun that shoots out electricity. You can fire straight, upwards, and even laying down. Sometimes you come across areas where you have to shoot parts of the mountain in order to create openings to progress in the game. Andy has no life bar. You get hit once and Andy dies. What's pretty nice about this game is that you're able to save anywhere on the screen. Just press start and hit save. After you pass this area here, you have to cross the bridge. For some reason, you have to cross very slowly. If you make Andy run, he falls. That doesn't really make any sense, but whatever. After that, Andy's scaling the cliff. Watch out for those pesky shadows. Once you make it to the top, you get your first cutscene. The next area is a swamp. You're avoiding sea monsters, flying monsters, swinging through vines, all to get to these catacombs here. As you progress in the game, you meet this flying creature that befriends Andy along with his entire race, which are known as amigos. The amigo tries to fly Andy to safety, but they are ambushed by shadow monsters and Andy falls into a river and he can surprisingly breathe underwater? I get that Andy is some sort of boy genius, but how in the heck can he breathe underwater? Andy discovers a meteorite underwater that gives him special powers. You can even use this power to make seeds sprout into full-grown beanstalks to get around different areas. So back underwater, there's this plant-looking thing here. I don't know what it is, but I've played way too many games to know that I have to stay away from it. These other plants here try to suck you in when you get into their path. Cross only once after they've sucked their vines back inside their bodies. You climb up an area where worms try to eat you, and there are also other areas that involve some creativity. So once you escape that area, you're re-rescued by your amigo friend who takes you to his village. Everyone starts smoking weed and getting high. No joke, man. Then the village is attacked, and Andy ends up all by himself fighting the shadow monsters. Next, you have to scale the world's tallest cliff. How one kid has the ability to climb and climb and climb all the way to the top is beyond me. The next part has you in some lava area, followed by another cave, and then another cave that's just crawling with those shadow monsters. Once you make it all the way to the end, you get a cutscene of one of the boss's underlings capturing Andy, and you finally reunited with Whiskey. Getting out is going to require some ingenuity. Down the road, Andy finds his gun again, then you find yourself in the last part of the game. The final boss also appears out of nowhere with no build-up. The purpose here is just to kill all the enemies on the screen and continue towards the right. You get a cutscene of Andy falling into the heart of darkness and finding himself in a last epic fight with the Master of Darkness. It's so hard to see what's going on. Basically, whenever you see a face pop up, just hit it with your gun. After enough times, the boss is defeated and Andy wakes up in his treehouse with Whiskey and his mom barging in, wondering what the heck is going on.
Come on, boys. Time for dinner.
Final thoughts? This game's pretty good. It's also pretty short. I mean, like, you can beat it in under 2 hours. It presents a reasonable challenge. It's kind of stylish, and the cinematic deaths were a nice touch. Overall, it's a pretty good game. If you were in the late 90s, I could see you firing up this game and, playing it and enjoying it very much, actually. Speaking of enjoyment, I sure hope you guys enjoyed this game review. I know it's been like around 2 months since the last time I did one, but, delays. Anyway, guys, Sledge of God here. See you next time.